All right, everybody, welcome back. Good afternoon on this Monday, and now it's time to introduce the second weekly series that we'll be handling on Monday. So Mondays are going to be pretty packed, going to be probably 3 videos. If it ends up being too much, maybe it'll become Snap Count Tuesday, but for now, Snap Count Monday continues on. And honestly, the name Snap Count Monday tells you what you need to know. We look at the number of snaps that each player on the Seahawks plays. And for most positions in football, that's a really important thing. That really matters. And I think that it's very useful to look at who is getting on the field for your team. And maybe to a certain extent, you could also say the context of how they're getting on the field. And you're trying to put it all into this big picture of, is the team doing a good job of rotating players in and out to keep them fresh while also allowing your best players to be on the field as much as possible? There's a balance. It's not easy to find. It's not easy to walk that balance, but the best teams typically do. So I'm going to walk through this brand new sheet. It's very similar to the one we had last year, just with a few different players. And I'll just explain how this works. It's really not much to it, but for the people who are new to the channel, worth walking through. So up here at the very top, we're going to have this frozen column of total snaps, which is the number of snaps played, in this case, by the offense. We're on the offense tab. So this will be the number of snaps the offense had in each game, 1 through 17. And that in and of itself is interesting, right? Because the last couple of years, the Seahawks have done a terrible job at winning time of possession and number of snaps on the offense versus defense. So that alone is worth monitoring. How good a job is the team doing of keeping the ball away from the other team, right? But we're also doing that because we want to get an idea of the percentage of total number of plays each player is actually playing. So we got running backs in this first column. This one's very important. Walker, Charbonnet, McIntosh, Helani, your top 4 running backs. So obviously Helani starts the season on the practice squad. There are going to be a lot of weeks where he doesn't play at all, but we anticipate that eventually he will. And eventually we might add another running back or 2 to this list if we end up picking up guys and there's an expectation that they might play. So down the line could expand, but for now we're going to start with these 4: Walker, Charbonnet, McIntosh, Helani. And we're basically just going to keep track of how much they play. Not how often they get the ball, but how often they're on the field. Okay. Then we have wide receiver. This one's interesting too. Not necessarily for the actual snap counts of the receivers, because receivers typically, really good ones anyway, or elite ones, play almost every snap offensively. Like, guys like Justin Jefferson are going to be playing a vast majority of your team snaps, but there is some interest in seeing how much Lockett, a guy like Tyler Lockett, gets on the field, right? Because he's older. He didn't practice that much this offseason. So in his potential career twilight, how much is Lockett going to be getting on the field? Player like a JSN, who is mostly a slot receiver. How often is JSN going to get on the field? How often are we getting guys like Bobo and Chenault on the field? It also gives an idea of how often we're going 3 receiver or 4 receiver versus 2 receiver, and it probably gives an idea of how much we're staying in the probably preferred 11 personnel that this team likes so much. So you can learn a lot from this, but in a year where you have a guy like a Tyler Lockett who is clearly approaching the end of his career, I think it's really important to understand how much he's playing compared to the other guys. Is JSN actually ascending? Is he actually going up in terms of his usage, in terms of how often he's getting on the field? Which, I mean, that's basically what the team told us last year, right? They told us that, yeah, he'd be getting the ball more, or getting on the field more this season because he was a rookie last year. He was a young rookie. He missed some of the offseason work this year. None of that's the case. And then we have tight end, and again, I think this year this is going to be more interesting to kind of illustrate how often the team is getting 2 tight ends or even 3 tight ends on the field, just to look at it as like an overall picture of how often they're playing. more so than it is to see like the balance, because I think the balance is going to be pretty well defined. Fant's clearly going to lead the team in tight end snaps because he's our best, most athletic tight end. Brown is going to play a good amount as tight end too because he's a blocker. And then you have Barner and Russell, who may play very little this year unless somebody gets hurt. And then offensive line, honestly, most weeks' offensive line is going to be really quick because most weeks' offensive linemen are just going to be the starters playing every snap. Unless somebody gets hurt, you would expect that your starters just play the whole game. The only reason why I added this is because a couple years ago when I was doing snap count stuff, we had Mike Upati, who could only really play half of every game, and then we'd have somebody go in to fill in for him because he kept getting hurt after playing like 20 snaps. He was literally held together by duct tape. And then we've also had Gabe Jackson in previous years, who was another guy who just was held together by duct tape. So I don't think we'll be using this that much this year, but we're still going to have it for now. And then we go to our snap count over on defense. Same deal. We're going to be counting the number of total snaps the defense plays. And then we're going to be doing defensive line for starters. This one's big because last year we played our defensive line starters way too much. Didn't play backups at all because we didn't trust our backups. And the guys got tired, which of course they're going to do. So how good a job are we doing rotating players in and out? Got Williams, Murphy, Reed, Morris, Adams, Hankins. Those are your 6 guys at the start of the season. And then you've got Keon Bars and you've got Cam Young, who Young will probably eventually play this season. Bars, I don't know. He's on the practice squad. We'll see if we have to add other players later. Maybe we go after some veteran if somebody gets hurt. But for now, we'll just start with these 8. And we need to hit this right, because I don't need to see Leonard Williams exhausted at the end of the season because we played him 85% of the snaps in September, October, November. I'm going to be unhappy if that happens because, September, October, November is great, but we need him to have something left at the end of the year when we're making that push. Linebacker, this is another one that most weeks is going to be kind of dull because what's probably going to happen, barring injury, Baker and Dodson are just going to take all the snaps. I don't think there's going to be any kind of a rotation here. I don't think there's going to be any urgency to get Tyrese Knight on the field as a rookie. And Drake Thomas, Pat O'Connell, Michael Barrett, I don't think they're going to be big pulls on snap counts this year either. However, it is worth noting that Jerome Baker has a little bit of a injury checkered past. So it's possible Baker ends up making way for somebody like a Knight during certain games because of injuries. But in terms of like a rotation, I'm not expecting anything like that this year. Edge rusher, this one's obviously very important. Edge rusher, you must have a firm rotation on the edge. You got Nwosu, who might miss the first game or two, but should play most of the season. You got Boye Mafe, you've got Derek Hall, you've got Draymond Jones, who, by the way, will be moving back and forth between the defensive line and the edge rusher spot. Very possible that I spend some time this year talking about how that's being broken out, how much is he playing in one spot versus the other spot. But yeah, Draymond Jones listed here, Travis Gibson, and then Tyus Bowser currently on the practice squad, also going to be listed here. Going to be doing snap counts throughout the year for them. Cornerback, Witherspoon and Woolen will probably play every snap the defense plays as long as they're healthy. So this is going to be kind of capturing who is the third corner when we're in nickel, and how often are we in nickel. And also maybe how often we're in dime and who's playing in dime. But the idea here is to kind of capture how much the other guys are getting on the field. So that should be pretty good. That should be pretty interesting. I think that's going to be something that is worth monitoring, even though Witherspoon and Woolen will play almost every snap. And then safety to polish things off. And again, I really think that Love and Jenkins will play pretty much every snap. So I'm not anticipating like a rotation. However, how much are we going to go 3 safety? How much is Julian Love going to come up and play nickel or play in the box, and then we put Wallace out there in Love's spot as a safety? How much are those things going to happen? And that's something that can be captured here because you can see how much Wallace plays. If Kobe Bryant plays, how much is he going to play? Is he going to get on the field at all for the defense this year, or is it too crowded? So definitely some interesting things going on at those positions as well. But really, this series was made mostly for edge rusher, defensive line, running back, and to a certain extent receiver and tight end. But I expanded it out a little bit just to be comprehensive. And yeah, that's Snap Count Monday. We get through it all in one video. We do the offense, we do the defense. Sometimes the video goes a little bit longer than I want to because there's something that needs to be kind of dug into and processed a little bit, but that is Monday. And again, it is possible that I might move it to Tuesday because we are doing 2 PFF videos on Monday every week, or at least that's the plan. But for now, Snap Count Monday holds. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have any feelings here. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. And, yep, tomorrow we'll be previewing another weekly series. Possibly more videos later today. If not, see you guys on Twitch tonight and see you guys on YouTube tomorrow.